Hey everyone, welcome to SEO UnMasked, episode number 60, February 21st. Glad to have you with us as always. I'm Garrett Groff.
I'm Vindeletta.
I'm Steve Brownlee.
Hey, I don't see a live YouTube link in the oh, there we are. Got it.
Yeah, we're live. We're live. It's all good.
Yeah.
Cool. What's up, guys?
Not much.
Hey everyone.
Fighting this cold.
Yeah, everyone seems to have a bit of a cold at the minute. I'm losing my voice, which is super cool.
Yeah, I get bronchitis about this time every year, so I'm just waiting for it. But so far, so good. I had a bad sinus infection a couple of weeks ago, and that sucked, but that's gone now.
Yeah.
So I've been
1 week away from. Or go ahead.
I've been using a Pomodoro technique, and I got my little tomato timer here, which is awesome. I so far this week I've banged out extra side work that usually would have taken me 2 weeks to complete. So this has been a godsend this week. And if you don't know what the Pomodoro technique is, look into it because it's worth it if you're into being more productive every day.
So what do you do?
I
don't want to Google it.
Garrett's not the only person thinking that that's watching.
Okay, so the Pomodoro technique is basically what you do is you work for 30 minutes nonstop. You turn off all distractions, and you work on one task for 30 minutes. Then at 30 minutes, you take a 5-minute break, walk around the house, do some stretches, grab a cup of coffee, and you just repeat that for 4 rounds. And after the 4th round, you take a 30-minute break. So I'm able to get about 3 or 4 of those in every day, and it really works. And I find that the biggest or the best part about it is I'm not sitting for like 2 hours nonstop on a project, because I find like after those long grind sessions, I'm really exhausted. But the break every 30 minutes, I think that's what does it, and it keeps you fresh for longer.
How do you plan what you're going to do? Like, because I can imagine myself spending 2 hours like with a spreadsheet.
Yeah, so I use the methodology from the book Eat That Frog, which is basically just how to prioritize your tasks and delegate what you shouldn't be doing. So on Sundays, I list out everything that's on my plate that I gotta get done, and if I mark it something I have to handle or something I can delegate. Then I delegate everything that can be delegated. Then I prioritize in list format whatever's left over, and I create a schedule for the week. So the first Pomodoro of the week, the first 2 hours of every day, is dedicated to those high-level tasks. And then after that, I just go to my day-to-day business, and it's been working out pretty good. I just gotta stick with it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been a really big win.
Yeah, I'll show you my template after the show. I won't share it publicly, but
no, I can.
It works.
Imagine you don't want to
Cool.
reveal the secrets. So Garrett's got the big announcement for next week, so I'll let him crack on.
Yeah, next week, 24 hours of SEO, getting close. If you go to the 24 hours of SEO.com, type that in there. I don't know if Steve's had a chance to update the site from last year yet, but if you register,
we've got some speakers confirmed. I'll get all the big names up so you can see who's going to be speaking, but you can register already and you'll go on the mailing list. You'll get the exclusive behind the scenes content, the slide decks, all the usual stuff.
Yeah, and you'll get first access to the recordings too once they go.
Yeah, the recordings go up there quicker as well. Yeah, so you get double win.
Yeah, so this is somewhat of a side project for us, but each year we're hoping to get better and better, and I don't know if we're revealing who's on the show just yet, but I think you guys will be.
Last week.
Yeah, we got some really well-known speakers, and it's gonna be really valuable for these guys.
Yeah,
for you
we got
guys.
we got some of the guys from last time who you all loved are back. That was our main priority. We're going to have a slightly different format this year. It's not just going to be 24 speaker slots. There's going to be a lot of guest interactions. So we're going to pull live viewers onto the show for a chat. We'll do some live site reviews. If you are watching this and you have a small business and you definitely want to get on, there's no compulsory donation, but we are asking, of course, we're doing this for St. Jude's Children's Cancer Research, that you donate what you can afford. The suggested donation to come on for an hour and get some free consulting about your website is $100. You'll definitely make more than $100 if you follow the tips that you'll get from not just myself, Vin and Garrett, but other speakers and other guests that we'll have on throughout the day. You'll definitely, I mean, some of you will double the size of your local business if you've never done any of this stuff before and you actually follow the tips you're given. So it's a really good opportunity to get consulting. And remember, some of the speakers don't even sell consulting anymore. So you've got people coming on that you couldn't pay $1,000 to get an hour of their time, and they're just going to be hanging out, answering questions in the chat. You're going to be on the show. You're going to get a lot of value out of whatever you decide to donate. So we're going to have we're going to have a travel segment in the nighttime hours where Garrett and I will be walking through just high level what we're doing for Vin, getting into Brighton SEO and style. But we're going to talk about, just some more ways that your typical agency can optimize itself for maximum personal travel luxury without spending any extra money. Because it's something a lot of people seem pretty shocked that, like someone like Garrett can just book a international business class flight with a few points and $7 in fees to go to a conference.
$5.60.
$5.60. And that was just through his normal business spend. He didn't have to do anything. So we'll be doing that overnight during the dead hours between the UK all being asleep and the Americans finally joining them before the UK wakes back up. So we haven't put that in prime time. The prime time hours will be 100% SEO, but those of you who want to join us for that, it's going to be just after midnight or something. So still pretty watchable. And obviously you can sign up and get the replay and travel in style. So there's loads of new segments.
There's a couple of people I want to hit up to do walkthroughs of how they use certain tools or certain SEO strategies that I have in mind. So I think that will be good for the nighttime hours too.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Screaming Frog on, but
yeah,
I didn't think to ask them early enough, so it might be difficult with the time. But if you want Screaming Frog on, jump on Twitter, find my tweet to Screaming Frog, and say, "Come on, Screaming Frog, please come on," because we've offered to support their charity for the same amount that we're asking them to support ours. So it's because we're
it's a win-win.
It's a win-win because they're supporting a good cause. Obviously, we can't do that for everyone, but for people I forgot to invite till a week before the event, as a one-off, I decided to do that for them. Because I think a lot of people would enjoy having Screaming Frog on. And I mean, some of their guides have been fantastic over the years, like their broken link building guide. If you're doing that, is still the go-to resource for that. Hi to Abbott Travel and BB. I'm doing good.
Hey, don't you know the guys from Citation Legs too?
Yeah, he didn't want to come on last year, so I must admit I forgot to ask him again this year.
Next year.
Yeah, I will apologize to him for not asking him. I should have asked him again this year. And
did a Screaming Frog say anything back to you today?
Yeah, they did. They just said it might be difficult with the short notice. So I tried to convince them with, come on, and just get someone in your office, pop a headset on them, get you on. People will enjoy it. So
yeah. Hopefully, once we get a couple of years of this under our belt, we'll you know what it is. I think some of the big companies are short on time, so they can't like accept all of these engagements. But just using last year's
Well, we had
videos.
1,800 viewers,
Yeah,
plus whatever. I mean, I know probably only an extra 500-600 watched afterwards, but I mean, that's still 2,300 total. Almost 6,000 raised for charity. I think it was a really good first year.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we were over ambitious and thought we would raise millions, but you know.
Well, we're gonna do 25 grand this year. We're pushing for that. So
we are. I mean, we're going to advertise this year. Vin's going to do some stuff on Reddit. I'm going to do some stuff on Twitter. Garrett will probably do a little bit on Facebook. So between the three of us,
I'm going to do some lookalike audiences on Facebook too.
Okay,
so,
cool. I'll coordinate with Garrett so you don't both
Cool. So since we're just trying to fit this into the lunch hour here, and I guess is this our new time now? We're going to be lunch hour on Thursdays?
Yeah, I think lunch hour on Thursdays is good.
I think that, you know, most people have the time to think about work stuff during the work day, and not everybody wants to sign on after hours or dinner time. So we think this is a better fit for us. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we've had more viewers live. I mean, the first time on, we had about 14, 15 right the way through. We've got 8 at the minute, but often for the evening one, we were getting, you know, just 4 or 5 regulars that we chat to, and it seems like there's more people going to be available at lunchtime, especially as the show gets a little bit bigger. So
yeah,
we'll give this a try for a few months, and if you guys like it and keep watching,
stick around.
Phoebe says she's being killed by deadlines. I know that feeling. We've got all the month-end deadlines to hit at the minute, so it's fun times.
That's exactly why I'm doing this Pomodoro technique to get more smushed into one day than I thought humanly possible. But
yeah,
we all know the feeling. So let's jump right in. Who shared this EU article?
Yeah, I shared this because it had made it the front page on Hacker News, and this looked like it had kind of died, and it seems to have come back. So now Google and Facebook are going to be asked to pay for news snippets, filter out copy-related content. But what people are going to remember is the rules aren't as relaxed in Europe as they are in America. So they'll, you know, like reaction videos, you know, where they insult it and stuff like that. It's going to be hard, and YouTube is going to almost certainly just dial up the score that you have to pass to get through their automatic copyright filtering, because they can't manually review the stuff. They've set the score at a reasonable level at the minute for the current legislative landscape. They're just going to be banning tens of thousands of videos instantly by dialing up the scale, and it's going to affect everyone. I mean, you can't quote the news and without paying the news site. I mean, come on, it's just.
Didn't another European Union country try to do this with something else? Either the knowledge graph.
Germany tried it a while ago,
and then Google just doesn't offer that product in Germany, right?
Google removed the news sites in question from Google News. Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I guess Europe feels like if they do it as a whole,
yeah,
they'll be stronger than Germany.
Okay.
I mean, and obviously Facebook is facing a huge fine in the US at the minute. I feel like legislators are starting to attack these big brands without considering the effect it has on normal people. Like a YouTube vlogger who reviews things and shares content, criticizes the news, laughs at a Delta safety video. Those people aren't Google,
right?
But they're automatically attacked when you make these kind of legislative changes. And we've seen already with when GDPR came out in the UK, California immediately said, well, we need that for our people. So while at the minute you guys can just laugh at us for being stupid over here, you have a couple of extreme left-wing states that will test these things first, and then it'll spread. You know, like Germany tried testing it, it didn't work, and all of us were like, stupid Germany. Yeah. And then before you know it, the European Union's voting on it, and the same thing will happen there. You're like, oh, stupid California, or whatever. Sorry, California. If you but you know, people outside will laugh and say, oh, it's only California, but it spreads quickly, and if it's something you don't want, it's worth campaigning about or thinking about. writing to your senator, writing to your MP if you're over here, your MEP. Because these things have to have someone vote for them, and if you can, they do read a lot of their stuff. Not all of them do. My new local guy seems to be asleep all the time or something, judging by the replies. But the previous guy was brilliant and would help out. When I lived in the city, the guy there was fantastic. Helped a friend of mine out with some problems they had, like, which seemed way over the top for an MP to get involved in it, like a senator sorting someone's gym membership out type situation. So some of them will surprise you, and you've only got to turn a few people that care about something around. So if all of us write to people with reasoned arguments and we only affect one person, but then they've got the ear of their colleagues, it does have an impact. So don't discount rational argument, but obviously don't send copy and pasted letters that campaign sites tell you to send, because they're not going to read 400 identical letters. Send something unique, rationally well thought out, and off your own back at a time of your choosing, not when they're getting bombarded with crap they don't want to read. But yeah, I'll stop waffling on about that now. But I don't like a lot of the legal changes. I think they're going to do a lot of damage to the internet, so we should do stuff.
Yeah. There you go. Well, I shared the Backlinko content study or content marketing study. I'm not sure if
the magical Brian Dean.
Yeah, I don't know if it's brand new or if it's an updated version of last year's, because that's his whole deal. He just constantly updates the same posts with new information. But since Word Agents is a content agency, I figured we talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, sounds good.
Fortunately, he does these super long posts, but he did a little summary right up top, which we can blow through pretty fast. For the most part, the case study revealed what we already know, that longer content is better. About 77% of long-form content gets more links than shorter articles. And same thing with social shares. The longer content gets more shares than a shorter piece of content. There's some surprising things about, let's see here, 94% of all blog posts have 0 external links. So I guess our industry.
Well, they're all pretty safe from getting fined by the European Union then, because they're not linking to.
But that pretty much means that our entire industry kind of fits into that other 6%, right? So that might even be a footprint for Google. So that's something to think about.
Oh, hey, we got Jeff Correa on the show. Hey, Jeff, thanks for joining us. It's good to see you. He asked, and I guess this is one for Vin, because he did a whole hour-long presentation about this on the 24 hours. Do you think there's too long when it comes to SEO content? Are some agencies overdoing it now?
No, I think Google tells you how. Let me rephrase that. I think that you have to look at content length on a more granular level, and that it's going to be SERP specific. So if the SERP is full of 10,000 word articles and you post a 500 word article, you're probably shooting yourself in the foot. Alternatively, if you're doing the converse of that, you're also shooting yourself in the foot, because you'll stick out like a sore thumb. So the rule of thumb that I go by is I'll average out the length of the top 10 articles, and I'll make mine about 25% longer. And I feel like that's the best way to go about it.
What do you think about long form content and conversions?
You have to work in user experience to those articles. So if you're not anchoring your sections with like a table of contents, HTML hyperlinks, you're probably hurting yourself in that aspect.
I've seen some good review. I know we always rag on the best XYZ type affiliate sites, because a lot of them are not providing additional value, but I've seen some really good ones where the table of contents is really tight and it answers a lot of questions that you genuinely have. And as long as they've actually reviewed the product and it's a real review, they can be really helpful. So I've seen some really good examples of exactly what Vin's talking about there.
Yeah. And I also explain that to clients too. They come in and they want a 10,000 word article. I'm like, guys, you can be just as effective just being 25% longer than the average. And I guess that builds trust, because I can certainly take that 10,000 word article and make more money than the shorter article. But in the long run, I don't want to be scamming clients like that by just I give some kind of advice, even though we're not a consulting SEO.
Yeah, I mean, I give that advice sometimes to people in terms of just generally if they want to do something that might not be fiscally prudent. Like if someone's total budget from their client is $1,200 and they have no more budget, I'm like, well, are you sure that 6-7 links is going to move the needle? Because if it's not, you should do something else for your client in-house. It's like I don't want to take people's money if they're not going to get results. And I'm sure Vin's in the same. And we've spoken a lot in the early show back when we were first getting started about what Vin was just talking about there. The looking at what's already in the SERPs is so powerful. I think a lot of the time you do all this keyword research, you get all these keywords ready, you imagine what you think is the right thing for the keyword, so you order the content. I think you really have to just take a stop for the important ones. I mean, you can't do it for every single keyword you're going to write about on your site, but
I think
you have to look at what's there and what Google thinks the right results are.
I think another problem that bigger companies aren't realizing is the problem of conflicting information. I just dealt with the reason I say it is because I dealt with this week. A corporate level, enterprise level client went out and hired a very well-known SEO consultant to help them build their content system. And we're the ones that are actually creating that content. And this guy kind of just gave them a few points of very black and white rules to follow. And part of that was content length. And I looked at the content, they're trying to put out and the keywords they're trying to rank for. And I explained to them, I was like, you guys are spending about 30% more than you have to on content creation. And I'll very happily take that money, but I was trying to explain that, you can save your money just by doing the 25% rule. And that kind of resulted in some uneasiness because I was saying one thing and the consultant was saying another thing. So I think as salespeople for SEO services, we have to learn how to overcome that kind of conflicting viewpoint.
Well, how I handle it is I just say to people, look, here's my view. This is what I do for my sites. You can do whatever you want and we'll execute it for you. And yeah, Jeff's thanking you for your advice. And I agree with it. I think, and Brian Dean talks about this a lot with his skyscraper thing. Like if you're trying to make something to build links to, it just needs to be better than what people have linked to before. Like you can't make something worse. Well, you can make something worse if you're really good at pitching. I mean, most of the stuff we build links to is worse. But if you're trying to make something that's going to be as easy as possible for you because you're an in-house team, you haven't got resources, you haven't got PR people, you haven't got the best pitchers. If you make something that's better than what people have linked to before, you will find it slightly easier.
And you also got to leave room for content updates too, right? So content freshness is a ranking factor.
How did your experiment go with that? Because you started that, what, like 4 months ago? Has that been something you've continued?
You know what? It's the me and Jared were talking about that last night. It's the ranking, the transitional ranking patent. Apparently in 2012, Google put out something called the rank transition patent, and it's basically just to fool spammers. By what they do is they add 90 days onto a temporary rank. So you'll update your article so it's perfectly optimized. You have all the perfect links that you need, but you won't be ranking on the first page. The reason is because of this ranking or transitional ranking patent, where they just add a time delay onto where you should be ranked, and that's usually about 90 to 120 days. So the rule of thumb that I'm going by now is once I post an article or once I edit and update an article, I'm not touching that again for 90 days as a rule of thumb. And that's because if I update that article again in the same 90-day period, I'm setting that clock back to 0 and extending the wait time another 90 days. So in theory, and of course we won't know this for sure because nobody knows what the hell Google is doing. The theory is that it takes about 90 days to find the true rank for any SEO change you made. And I'm sure that varies by site type, site size, niche, but that's pretty much what I've seen too.
I agree with that, and that's why I think it's laughable, some of these SEO testers that have I changed this, I built one of this link, and I got this. It's like, you didn't get anything in a day. It's just, that's just normal Google flag. Like you're being misled because there is a lag. Couple of things in the chat. Jernburn is here. Hi, Jern. He says, Garrett, is that my chair in the back?
No, that's Tim's chair. And
Jeff's just asking, have we been following Income School? I haven't.
Income School was they were like the Authority Hacker guys before Authority Hacker. So that's really what led the Authority Hackers guys to start Authority Hacker. It's basically just a course on creating content sites. They have some amazing case. Yeah, I'd say they're good. They have their own approach to building content sites. I wouldn't necessarily take their strategies and apply them to client sites, and I wouldn't apply them to very large affiliate sites. But if you're one of these guys that is still churning out the smaller SEO niche sites, between Income School and Authority Hacker, I think you'll have all the information you need.
And also from Jeff, standalone blogs not associated with the brand. The most of my clients are brands. I mean, I know in some industries, because we did some work in legal. Well, we're always doing a bit of work in legal with law firms because law firms need a lot of links, especially in New York and Philadelphia and the East Coast cities where there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of reasons, for regulatory reasons, why they would blog separately. So they often have, you know, like just because Garrett said the name Tim, it's stuck in my head now, like timshippingblog.com, and it'll have a lot of disclaimers on there that it's just the lawyer writing his personal thoughts, but they can say things on those blogs that they couldn't say on the firm's website for regulatory reasons. So I think some people, and then for advertising reasons, like Gary Vaynerchuk, VaynerMedia did cheeserank.com with Ritz crackers, and it was just like a cheese news type site, and because obviously crackers and cheese, blah blah blah. But that was a really good way for them to drive traffic to Ritz as a brand and things like that. So I think there's lots of reasons why you can do that. But in general terms, with most common budgets that you're going to have, it's going to be suboptimal to split up into two sites because you're not going to be building the domain authority on. And you saw that with Ryan Fishkin and Mars. He had his separate blog. A lot of people linked to his random thoughts. He moved that to Mars because of all the links. And when he moved to his new company, he redirected it all to sparktoro.net because he wanted to take the authority with him when he left. So you're better off consolidating on one site unless you have a big budget and you're doing some advertising or some other clever branding, or you're in an industry where the regulatory freedom from having it on a separate non-law firm site is important, like the law industry. Otherwise, one site is the cheapest way to build authority. So you'll get, well, what should Garrett order for lunch if anyone's got an opinion? Hit us up in the chat.
My answer cannot be said on the air, so I'll keep quiet.
I dread to think what's wrong with you, man? How have you got a non PG lunch preference?
That actually just made me very hungry.
What the hell do you do for lunch?
Hey, let's just jump through to the next.
Yeah, let's crack on to some more news. Yeah,
we only have limited time.
Who's next? Tim Sulu.
Yeah, so Ahrefs did a case study on the question: do links from pages with traffic help you rank higher? And I'll let you guys read. No need to go through everything here. But the consensus was surprising. I would have thought, yes, if you have links that have traffic coming through them, you would rank higher with those.
I think
rather
his
than
logic is slightly flawed here, and the answer is a lot easier. Just because, let's say you have a page that has traffic, and you link to one of the other sites. Traffic doesn't necessarily mean that page or that domain had any authority. Let's say you had a payday loan site with only 20 links to the domain and one link to this one page. It's going to get, excuse me, let's say this payday loan site, the best legit site you can build, 500 referring domains, 30 links to this single page. Quite a bit of authority. Is it going to get any traffic in payday loan space? No. But if you link from that page with 30 links to one of your other sites, that link's going to carry quite a bit of authority with no traffic. Vice versa, you can have a site with 20 links to the domain, one link to that page, in some really outrageous niche that has no competition, and it could have 5,000 hits a month to that page and pass no authority in that link to your site.
Yeah. I agree, and in the article they say several times, what we all say is, correlation does not equal causation,
Right.
And I think you pointed out exactly why a link with traffic can't be a much higher weighted ranking factor than any other link.
Right.
Yeah, and it's been known for a while that this was nonsense that some people were pushing in their courses and stuff, and I think where it's useful is where Garrett uses it, is he looks at the traffic of sites generally, and whether they've been penalized or clearly lost a lot of traffic, because I can imagine Google has sites that it doesn't trust very much. And they've said numerous times in the Matt Cutts era, they do have sites that they lose trust in because of the way they manage their site, the way they link out, what they do. Or they've been hacked, a site that's been hacked, they will lose trust in. But
yeah, I pasted the link in the chat if you guys want to.
So I think everyone's known it's false that traffic is a factor, but you can use it to try and avoid sites that have been recently penalized.
And, I guess the thing is, generally speaking, I think people get confused where typically good sites that have decent traffic are sites you want to link from, and I think a lot of people interpret that as site has traffic good, or kind of.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I think that if you're evaluating links that you want, I think links that have traffic is probably a good sign, as a positive factor. But as far as are they going to make you rank higher because of the traffic, I think the answer is no.
Maybe.
All right, let's move on here. You got the cognitive SEO unnatural links study.
Just a couple of things in the chat first. BB suggests sushi for Garrett. Jeff is just asking if I'm a gamer. I wish I had time anymore. I used to play way too much, but since I've started a business and had a kid,
there's your game right there.
Life is sufficiently challenging without trying to fit in 8 hours a day of gaming, whatever I used to manage. So I would like to be, but very, very little anymore. Cool. See you later, BB. BB's leaving.
Bye, BB.
So yeah, I'll let Vin crack on with the next news.
Yeah, cognitive SEO, another case study. What's the title of this one? It's about unnatural links. We analyzed 100,000 unnatural links, and this is what we've learned. A lot of good stuff here. A lot of obvious stuff that I think we already know. Almost all websites have some unnatural links. Obviously or not, most of the unnatural links have no influence over rankings. And what jumped out at me as the most surprising is the majority of unnatural links that they analyzed came from web directories.
The one thing I'll say about this, and it's clear when we talk about anything cognitive SEO put out, it's the chap who was interviewed by Grant Cardone, isn't it, that runs Cognitive? Is that right? Or is he Link Research Tools? I forget which one's which.
Yeah, Grant Cardone from Link Research Tools.
Link Research Tools, okay, yeah.
No, yeah, you're right.
I wanted to ask that before we got into this because I can never remember who's who out of these two companies. So I wanted to make sure we were talking about which one we were talking about. That's okay.
It's always good to think about the source of the information before you accept their
yeah, and I genuinely couldn't remember, so I thought I'd better ask.
Yeah, exactly. That was really the biggest thing I took away from this case study, that web directories are topping the list by a large margin as far as the biggest offender of unnatural links.
I mean, I'll refer back to Matt Cutts on the no follow point though. He said quite clearly when people were asking him about it that no follow links won't harm you unless you're destroying the internet. So if you're a comment spammer and you're doing 1,000 just obnoxious comments every day using some tool, Google might decide to take action against you. Otherwise, they just ignore no follow links for the most part. At the time, he said only a vanishingly small number of sites are ever impacted where they choose to take action against someone who's building no follow links.
Yeah, and that kind of correlates with what I've been saying for a while, especially about the disavow file. If you haven't done a disavow yet, I don't think that you need to be doing one. If you are a disavow guy, you keep up with it. With that said,
well, I think if someone attacks you,
yeah,
then go ahead and disavow the dodgy links because that's just a normal behavior. They can.
A week or two back, we wrote a roundtable article or a news update about Google coming out and saying that disavowing, if you have unnatural links or shitty links or whatever you want to call them, and you don't disavow them, it could make your good links less powerful. So in terms of the power of the links, disavowing might be helpful just so you get the full value or the full amount of link juice from all of your good links, because your shitty links could be making them less powerful.
And that makes sense. And that makes sense from Google originally, if you think back to what they founded on, it was based on the academic citation model. And if you think about how real academics behave when they look at who cited a particular article, a particular journal submission, they're going to think about the reputations of the people that have cited it. And if your climate change articles cited by a bunch of hacks who have a really terrible reputation, and that's 90% of your citations, it's going to have a dimmer view. So from a logical standpoint, it makes sense for Google to try and not just look at the raw number of citations, but also consider the average quality of the citations when they're working out the more sophisticated page rank that they no doubt have moved to since the original version. So it does make sense that disavowing absolute shit that you've got would be helpful.
Yeah.
And unlike Vin said, his buddy Jared, well, all of our buddy now since Vin introduced us to him, he does it religiously. I think you can be 4 times less religious than him and still be fine. Like once a month or something is probably plenty, but maybe even just a couple of times a year, unless you're actually being attacked. But I know a big finance company, they do it every single day. First activity for the SEO team is to update the disavow file for the day. So
cool.
There's a lot of people with different approaches to it, that's for sure.
Yeah, my approach to managing link profiles for my affiliate sites right now is pretty much spend the first 2 years of a new site mass building links or just getting that initial link profile built up, and then go back and start pruning the shitty links out.
Well, you do that with content as well, don't you? You replace and upgrade your non-performing content. You remove out-of-date articles. I think a pruning and improvement approach works across all of the aspects of online marketing.
Sure, for sure.
Like you might start with a shit logo for $10 when you launch your site. You're not going to have.
I've gone on Fiverr and got shit logos, and I knew that it was a profitable site. I did a branding update and a site redesign. We start with the free themes first, and then.
Well, it's like word agents when you became larger, you had a complete redesign, didn't you? It's just a natural evolution. That prune and improve is just what you would do as a normal business. So it's what you should do probably if you're trying to fake it through aggressive SEO.
And redesign will probably be around next year, and it will be even more comprehensive. This time we're building, anticipating to build with funnels in mind and different target demographics, and I think that's probably just the natural evolution of any online business. So you start with a shitty website and you get better as you do better.
All right, so more AMP stuff. Who shared this one? Was this one Vin as well? I think Vin's the main man this week.
I threw this one up last night just because I recently added Stone Temple to my reading list, and I know we've been talking about
some increases.
Yeah, so this case study was basically just looking at, does AMP improve rankings? And the results were surprising. I kind of thought that using Google AMP had no effect, or maybe even a negative effect. This case study doesn't show really an increase in rankings, but it shows an increase in traffic, impressions, and click-through rates across the board. E-commerce sites,
which is a nice balance to our previous discussions about AMP, where people were getting really angry with it. I still stand by what we said, that it should be for your higher budget clients who can afford to fix things every time Google changes something, because you will be getting a lot of AMP errors in your Webmaster Tools or Search Console as they've rebranded Webmaster Tools. I'll call it Webmaster Tools though till I retire. So tough luck, guys.
Besides the surprise that AMP was actually helping in these three areas, the other surprise was that e-commerce sites were the biggest benefactors. So publisher sites still saw a benefit, but the e-commerce sites really raked it in. They had a 32% increase in organic traffic, 42% increase in impressions, and a 12% increase in click-through rates. That third metric they lost to publisher sites, but overall, I think e-commerce sites are the biggest benefactor in using AMP.
Well, I think that's going to be because no one in the e-commerce space is using AMP. So, the competition's less. So if you're one of the people who attacks it, you're going to get the max. Whatever Google's baked in to push AMP, because they're no doubt pushing it. You're going to get the biggest benefit if you're in a niche where people aren't using it.
Yeah, I don't think I'll use it until it's clear that not using it is what's holding me back. But
I don't think we'll use it. Full stop.
The results are in the math. People that are using AMP are doing, having
until Google takes it away because they do something else or they close AMP down. And it's like authorship. Authorship got you higher click-through rates for a while and stuff. It's like, imagine if you're an agency and you charged your client $10,000 for an authorship program to like build that up, and then they close the program down, and like, we got 6 months of benefit. Thanks, guys. You got to be careful with Google, and maybe in like 3 years, if it's still around, then we'll use it.
Cool. Well, hey, I think we got through all of the news for today. So we got
an SEO by the C one. I don't know what that was.
Oh, I read. We don't. We can get into that if you want. I don't know if anybody wants to do that.
Did you share that one? I haven't read this one. Go on, just do it 2 minutes on it. SEO by the C is always interesting. They're a good blog.
It's nothing I can really expand on just because everything he does is so technical. But it's another patent that he reviewed about context clusters and query suggestions. A little bit over my head. Usually his stuff is, but it'll be a good read for anyone.
Cool.
Into patents.
Yeah, if you're a real SEO geek, SEO by the C is pretty out there in the level of detail they go into. Couple of questions from Jeff. I recently achieved page 1 rankings for SEO reseller plans seemingly globally. I've checked New York City, Chicago, New Orleans, Australia, London. I recently changed 3 things on my site. Extended my domain to 3 years. I added view our plans to the title to help click-through rate, and I started posting a daily blog to YouTube with my link in the description. Which one of those do you think pushed me over the edge? I have no idea on that one. What do you think, Ben?
So the result was increased rankings, and
sounds like it, yeah, globally.
What I would say, number 3, daily blog to YouTube with link in the description.
Yeah, not because of the link. I think
it's a freshness factor.
Yeah, because they did that test at a conference, didn't they, where like more people clicking and going to things from Google properties can temporarily boost your rankings. So, but obviously if you're doing a daily vlog, you're going to be getting that every day.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, improving the click-through rate probably will help, because we know that Google, if you're in 4th place, but you have 60% of the clicks and you're only supposed to have 7, it's going to move you up from 4th to 3rd.
Yeah.
Because you're crushing 3rd place. It's obviously the better result for their users. So improving the click-through rate will have definitely helped. I don't think extending the domain 2 to 3 years is an issue. I think if you buy a brand new domain and you've registered it for 1 year and you start putting up really aggressive content, I think that's probably a warning sign that Google will pick up on, that new domain, just registered for 1 year, might be a spammer trying to. But if you've got a domain that you've always renewed for 1 year for 20 years or something, I don't think you suddenly renewing it for 3 years one time is going to get you a ranking boost. If anyone wants to test it, if you've got a domain you've had for 10 years plus and you always renew it 1 yearly, if you want to try renewing it for 3 and report back to us, that would be interesting. But I don't think it'll be that one.
There's a few other things that you're probably omitting, though, from your list. In early February, there was a couple of algorithm updates that really shook up a lot of search. So you may, that update may have just thrown you from page 2 right up to the top. I don't know when the rankings happened. And also, you were stuck on page 2 for 5 years, or 2 through 5, 4 years. You may have just developed enough domain authority to finally have earned that spot on the first page too. So it's probably a combination of several things, between domain authority, Google algorithm updates. But out of your list, I would definitely say it was the daily blog and the freshness updates that you're getting as a result of that.
Cool. So rand of the week is from is a bit of a silly one this week.
I had snuck in something by SEO by SC, but we can talk about it next week.
Oh, Vin covered it quickly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you've all been following, no doubt, the shenanigans in the SEO industry, where leading feminists in the industry turn out to have been covering up for attacks on women and all kinds of stuff. Obviously, the shit SEO is in there with some elite commentary. But I mean, the reason it's the rand of the week is so a woman who's been harassed and struggled in the industry with all the things that have gone on posts a really long. I won't name her. You can figure it out from Twitter. She's written a really long and thoughtful piece about what she'd suffered, and Rand responds to discussion of it with, "If you knew what I know, you'd dismiss it as crap too." Just like a true feminist. And the shit SEO responds with, "War on this soppy bearded woman." So it just made me chuckle, the Kevin K-Bomb Bland's response to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, anyone who still believes that Rand is a feminist now is, I don't know.
All right. So,
thanks, Kevin. So
topic.
the main topic's kind of interesting. So as you guys know that watch the show regularly, a couple of weeks ago, someone shared with me their site that they'd switched to doing hack links on by whatever name, because I know they name them all different things these days, various types of edits and so on. But they switched to doing hacked links, and they were absolutely annihilated in around November. Just by chance, I was looking at someone sent me a niche edit, and I looked for some other sites that had used hacked links to get onto this Jewish philosophy blog, which now links to gambling, drug treatment, just pills, all the nonsense you'd expect hack links to be involved in. And I found a couple of sites that have seen 40% traffic drops around the same date in November last year. Now, it's kind of interesting because we hadn't seen any chatter around it, but it does look like, but it does look like maybe Google did something around November last year. One thing, I'm busy compiling, because obviously you can find sites that have been hacked. You can then find through Ahrefs, you can look at their outbound links, and you can find dodgy anchors. The dodgy anchors you can then check to see if it's a hacked link somewhere. So I'm compiling, a few hundred. I'm going to try and get to 1,000 sites that have been using hacked links, and try and have a look and see if there's any trend around November. The one thing I've seen, though, which is disappointing, is that Google hasn't been able to catch people in real time. Like people that have just started buying hundreds of hacked links are definitely seeing short-term growth from it. And then these people that have been caught were caught in one go in November. So obviously we've only got 3 so far found, but I've only just started looking literally a couple of hours before the show. So I'm going to compile some proper research, and after the 24 hours or during the 24 hours, if I get it done on time, we can share some more stuff. But it looks like a manual action was taken against people using hacked links on a specific date, rather than they've got a clever way of figuring it out. And my view on it, and I've shared on the show before, is it should be super obvious. If a site suddenly has a whole bunch of links from articles from 2008 to 2012, and the site's only existed since 2017, it's pretty obvious those aren't natural links. It's pretty obvious they've been hacked in there. So it should be super easy for Google to filter this bullshit out. So it's really disappointing they haven't. And I guess morality question, should we let site owners know when, as part of this research project, when we find that their sites have been hacked? I don't know what the right thing to do there is. So if you have an opinion, at SD Brownlee on Twitter, let me know if you think I should bother letting people know, or if we should just leave it be. I have no idea what the right thing to do there is. I'd be pretty pissed off if my site was hacked, and I'd like to know, I guess. So I'm leaning that way.
Not necessarily hacked, like these companies.
Well, yeah, explain. I'll let him run through again the various ways that.
There's one way is you get web hosting, and in your terms of service, the web host says we reserve the right to make any changes to content. You never read that shit, so who would know? Some SEO agencies put the same shit. Now and forever, we reserve the right to make beneficial, in quotation marks from me, updates to your content, which would mean that SEO agency that did some stellar work for you is now selling these really shitty links on your site, and you have no idea, because most business owners don't have time to keep up on it. Tons of other numerous ways. Plugins on WordPress get hacked, or their main purpose was to offer a free, somewhat beneficial tool as a plugin. But in the terms of service, we reserve the right to make any beneficial updates to content, which includes putting these nice links on your site.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest culprit, the plugin guys that are hiding what they're doing in their TOS.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sorry, I muted myself by mistake. We spoke about the Hacker News article a little while ago, where some plugin author was super confused why he was receiving an offer for $5,000 to buy his plugin that made no money and only had 10,000 users, but it was a plugin that did stuff with content. So I wonder what the buyer was looking for, and a whole bunch of people commented that they'd had similar offers, and one guy sold his plugin and it was used for exactly this purpose. And so it's pretty well known by plugin developers on Hacker News that this is going on. That's news.ycombinator.com, one of the startup incubators for those of you who don't read the tech news. It's a good site if you like tech stuff.
Cool. So why don't you tell us about your blog post, buddy?
Oh yeah. So we're taking Vin to Brighton SEO in style. Obviously, Brighton is limited on the amount of style of hotels, but we've done the first step. So Vin has signed up for the Hilton Honors. Which one did you get in the end? Which card?
The Amex Hilton Honors credit card.
The Amex free Hilton Honors card, so no annual fee. He signed up through a referral code from Garrett to get extra points. So he received 100,000 points for $1,000 spend or $2,000?
$1,000.
$1,000 spend.
Yeah.
But he also got, I think, 5 points per dollar, was it? Or?
It's 5x.
Yeah.
It depends on what you spend it on. There's like certain tiers of purchase types that give you different points, but for the most part, I get 5x for certain purchases, 3x for other purchases, and certain purchases are only 1x.
Yeah, so when you're getting the 5x, it's definitely good because it's 2.5% cash back effectively to use towards Hilton hotels. So yeah, he signed up for that, cleared his points, cleared his spend, booked himself a queen room for free at the Hilton, which is one block, not even a block, it's like the next block over, so you're half a block's walk from the conference center for Brighton SEO.
Yeah.
If you want to check it out, the link's in the show notes and in the chat. We're going to be having a dinner. We're going to be having a dinner at Brighton SEO as well, paid for obviously by word agents and reach creators. So any of you who come along from the US who watch the show, if you let us know beforehand, we'll make sure you get a place ahead of anyone else that we invite, because obviously you've traveled pretty far and you're following along the story. But I think Vin was saying that very cheapest rooms that I blogged about are gone, but there's still 112,000 point options. So
yeah, I got what they call the double guest room, and it looks nice enough, for going to a business conference, and it was 114,000 points for 3 nights total. Yeah.
So you'll get your 100,000 point bonus, and then you'll either have to spend about 3,000 more on the card or something, or
I was worried about taking a credit hit because when you sign up for a new credit line, obviously they do a hard inquiry to your credit score. But what actually happened is I got a boost from opening up the new card.
That's one thing I've noticed actually is opening American Express cards tends to improve your credit score.
Well, one, Amex doesn't necessarily do a hard pull ever.
No.
And then 2, hard pulls, unless you're doing a bunch of them, you might only lose a point. Typically, you're only going to lose a point or 2 for a hard pull. Right.
But the extra limit is a big boost to your overall, because you're
it increased my my credit what is it, the credit ratio that
utilization ratio,
by a good amount of percentage points. So that helped too. So
I mean, I ripped through all of the UK cards. Flights here. Well, don't worry, Jeff. The flights are coming up.
What I looked at,
I'm going to be blogging about 2 options, because Vin wants to fly business class and spend somewhere around $1,000. So he's going to be doing points and some cash to get the best possible flights for around $1,000. However, I'm also going to be covering an option for people that really only have a couple $100 to spend, and how they can get over on points for virtually free. So watch out for the blog post in probably probably be around about the 20th of March or so. Abbott Travel's asking about UK cards. So at the minute, most of the Amex cards haven't been pulled. So the British Airways Amex is still there. The Gold card is still there. The Personal, the Platinum Business is still there. And Virgin Atlantic have released a really competitive card. The bonus points are pretty weak, but the earning rate's 1.5.
Uh-oh. Steven.
Where'd Steve go? Steve's dead. He gone. He gone.
Atlantic point.
Hey, Steve, we can't hear you. Your feed just disappeared. I don't know. All right. Well, I guess the answer is we're going to have some pretty cool options for anybody that wants to sign up for a flight card in the upcoming weeks, and that should cover your flight to Brighton SEO. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be my first trip overseas, so doing it for.
I think Steve mentioned before the show, like, I don't know why, but flights to London the week of Brighton SEO are absolutely insane.
Yeah, I looked up flights from JFK in New York to whatever airport you're landing in, and it came up as like $18,000 for those days we wanted to fly. So I'm really relying on.
Like, I ended up I used 86,000 Sky Miles one way, so I'm flying from Minneapolis to JFK in first class, and then JFK to London in Delta One. So that's about I think it's like a $4,000 flight or something one way.
Can I the Delta One flight is, or the two arms of the flight?
The two hops together is about $4,000 because the pricing's so ridiculous right now. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to pay that, and I will.
Maybe I can jump on that flight out of JFK with
you. So I did that for points, and then 86,000 points is about, depending how you value it, like straight face value, that's only $860.
Yeah.
So I got a pretty good redemption on that, and then on the way back, I'm flying Lufthansa. I go from London to Germany, and then I have a business class flight back for like $1,000 or something. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think we almost did that in exactly an hour. We're 3 minutes over, but
yeah,
close enough.
Yeah, cool.
So,
all right.
24 hours of SEO next week, starting at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. So that's next Thursday, and we're going all the way till 9 a.m. on Friday. 24 hours. That's the name.
Yep. All right. Yeah.
I'll catch you guys next week.
Catch you later. Yep. Bye.
Bye.